Right? We ready? I'd like to call to order the committee of the whole for Tuesday, December 12th, 2023 at 5 p.m. It's being held and transmitted electronically via council chambers at 39 South Shore Road, Lake Washington, DC. I would also like to acknowledge that our meeting is taking place on the unceded lands of the Sabatka peoples, who we live, work, and recreate with in harmony. Introduction of any main items, Mr. Fernandez?
Yeah, just, I had an issue here with the in-camera, the acquisition, disposition, or expropriation of land or improvement, that just needs to be deleted.
What number was that?
91E, yeah, good.
Oh, see, I got it. Okay.
And I had 2 items that I sent to council earlier,
And your 2 items will go under new business.
one under staff reports and one under new business.
Okay, which one is that?
Under finance staff report. And the other one's new business.
Okay, that's it. Do we have any other? Mr. Ma'am, Donald.
Thank you very much. So the item that Mr. our CFO with reference to go to new business should actually reside in camera under law enforcement. The laid out in the sent to you. Put it there under law enforcement. Also under new business. A leave of absence for tonight's meeting for Councilor Sanders.
What number do you want that?
So E. Please. And if I may, I sent an email that was missed for an addition of the budget process for this year to discuss that. Council and staff. Yeah, budget process. And G, if I may.
Oh,
Recycling, refuse, and compost plans for 2024.
Under public works.
Yeah, we can put that there or under new business. Whichever you.
well, let's put it under public works forward. Okay, anything else?
That's all from me, Madam Chair.
Okay, do I have an approval of the agenda with the additions? Councilor Monaka, Councilor Christie, all in favor? And public input, do we have any public input on items on the agenda? You're allowed 3 minutes. And I want to mention at the time, if anyone at home that is watching has any questions, they can email general@lakecollection.ca. Only items that are on the agenda have been added to the agenda. And you could also phone 749-6681 at the end of the meeting if you have any questions, and we'll deal with that in question period. Okay, minutes of the meeting, and this is just for information only because they were ratified at our council meeting. Were there any questions out of that at all? And 6 business arising and ongoing items. None. Delegation. Correspondence action items, none, looks like. They're going quite quickly. Now we get to reports. Finance and administration and strategic planning. We want to do financial report from our CFO. Mrs. Gill.
Thank you. So the statements are attached. Just remember that year end is starting and we have a outstanding accounts payable and capital projects in year end. So there's some invoices coming in. We have the 2024 dog licenses available for sale in town office now. The 2024 business license renewal letters have been mailed out. There's a question regarding the COVID-19 funds. They can be used to cover revenue shortfalls and for computer and other electronic costs. The funds can't be used to cover new staffing requirements. And below is a table of the town hall capital expenditures. It shows from 2019 to 2023, the total that was spent by vendor with a total of $4 million, just over $4 million for the 19 to 2022 period.
Thank you. Any questions? Councilor Bonaparte?
So if it says that it can, the COVID funds can be used for computer and other electronic costs, would that also be when we were talking about putting in better sound equipment?
Yeah.
Could be used for that? Yeah. Thank you.
Any other questions? Yeah, Councilor Christie?
On the COVID relief fund, do we know what the remaining balances of that?
I haven't yet, year end's just started, I haven't yet tallied what the expenses were that we spent this year, but yes, that will be part of the audited financial statements that are coming forward.
Yes.
Is just with the information we're getting about the COVID relief fund, has staff got plans for the rest of that fund? Has it been earmarked for anything in the future?
Well, was being earmarked for here for the council chambers for the communications equipment.
Okay.
Yes, go ahead.
Is that amount of money, is it a substantial amount? Like how much is remaining? Could we take it?
There was over 200,000 last year, or was it over 4? I couldn't find out. It's not a small amount.
It's a follow-up question.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, just with the COVID relief fund, so looking into it, one of the FAQs is can we use it to claim staff time both for union and management? And they said you can cover labour costs to one of the, if it can be related to one of the board service items announcement letter, then yes, that should be applicable. So we could use it for staffing. And it sounds like the reporting process is pretty loose. There'll be no auditing and no clawbacks for it. One of the examples is if you were to spend $100 grand on system upgrades, all you'd have to put is $100,000 for system upgrades. So one of the things in the announcement is virtual communications and interconnectivity. So that would kind of fall into what we're trying to achieve, but maybe I'll pose these questions later in the when we come to the education center. Yeah.
So as of December 31st, 2022, there was $261,000, just over 261,000 left in that fund.
So a question, so when it says that certain staffing can be taken out of that, being it's a COVID-19 fund which have to do with health, would we be able to use that for washrooms being kept open?
We use it for the fire department. Their call outs for health related issues. We use it for staffing currently, like for COVID shots and other COVID related expense, directly COVID related expenses. So that is what I'll be calculating in the next month or two and fleshing out those numbers.
Just to answer Councillor Mark's question, so you can use it for services with vulnerable persons living with disability, mental health or addictions, persons experiencing homelessness or other vulnerable, so and other related costs. So that is something that
The only thing I would say is it depends on whether we have staff that would work on, me having the washrooms open on weekends. Yeah, that would be maybe offer, if the staff would work for that is also a union issue as well, right?
Well, we do use it for the porta potties that we have
Yeah.
in those locations. So we do use it for some of those types of costs already.
That's correct. Great, thank you. Something else?
Yeah, just on finance, still going through the finances. So the parking expenses are now $9,000 to have the parking looked after at Sailor Park. Was there any revenue or was there no ticketing or it was just, it was ticketing? Was there any revenue from it?
Yes, but not to the extent of what.
Right. Is there anywhere, sorry to follow up,
Okay.
is there anywhere in the finance we can find out how much that was that we bought it?
We can bring it up to the next meeting.
Okay. Oh, sorry.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to move to flat for a minute. Within the proposed alternate heat source, the couple of projects that were anticipated, the ones that are not showing as to being completed as of yet, is there any opportunity for that to be completed prior to the end of the year?
Yes and no. Yes, because we have a little bit quote to do some work. Doesn't the whole place, of course, never expected that, but the lion's share. And I'm just trying to secure a second quote to keep everyone honest. And the group that has the quote that we think we probably go with, and that's what gets on the floor. They're ready to do it before the end of this year, in a couple of weeks. So maybe coming, we have groups coming in January, February, and we're doing a lot of work there right now with changing the wording.
So follow up, if I may, Madam Chair, through you. So the one I was looking at particularly was the alternate heat source to reduce some of the GHG emissions within the plant, which is a major contributor within our municipal functions for the propane that is utilized for that heat system. I was wondering specifically on the heat source alternate, whether that would be a problem.
Well,
You can have a political answer if you wish, but just hoping that we can, if not, in this budget cycle, accommodate that to help reduce our GHG emissions within that facility.
according to the expert that came in and gave the quote and thoroughly went around the whole center, some of it is not doable by using a heat pump, quite frankly. But he's looking at future, in the future, he's also talking about reducing some of our gas, propane use, and going to hot water on demand every time. So that's probably what we'll do next year for some of our capital expenditures. But right now, we do about a third of the propane used that we are going through right now to eliminate that. Of course, we'll have to go to more energy, because that's based on, using heat pump, but that's what we're looking at.
Renewable energy,
Pardon me?
electricity, renewable energy, no GHG emission, very little GHG,
Yeah.
so like opposed to. I'm just hoping that if not, heat pumps, if we can find an alternate source, to reduce it more than a third, and
Yeah.
you're not the only facility that is a contributor. When we look at our inventory of GHG emissions, 80% of it is transportation, so there again, we have to look at not just our own fleet, but those within the community, how we can have a better option for transportation as well. Thank you.
If I can just follow up with that, there is an opportunity in the future to look at the complete, the whole town, with a green energy audit. That will be an external situation and probably an external contract. And that's when there's possibilities of rebates in the future, but for now, we'd like to go ahead and start reducing our costs.
Absolutely. Appreciate it. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Anything else, Councilor Frisbee?
Yeah, just to follow up on that, so Lakeview washrooms, when are we looking at getting those installed?
Okay,
Built?
as of Thursday, this Thursday coming, the excavation will take place, so then over the next few months, we should have everything completed. Contractors on it now, back in holiday.
Just for my knowledge, just through the CAO, so with their budgets, does work have to be completed and billed to be validated in this budget cycle? Everything has to be completed or just has to be started?
No, it's basically what, it's a carryover, so. If that's the case, then if it's not a big amount, then we can do it ourselves. But if it's large capital expenditure, comes back to council. To carry that.
So in these terms would be the washroom, so that would have to be carried over to the next
Correct.
budget year. Thank you.
Anything else? Okay, thank you very much. The next report is the building inspector's report. Just for information, any questions on that from anyone? And then we'll move on to the fire department incident report. And that is for October, and it is 8,639.15. Do I have someone to move the Councilor Christie, seconder, Councilor Vomaka, all in favor? Any questions on that report? And we have one more, November, 16,866.18. Do I have a mover, Councilor Christie? Mayor McGonigal? All in favor?
Question, please.
Oh, you had a question first? Yes, go ahead.
Well, I'm seeing some more alarms activated and I'm a stickler for that, so.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering if there is a follow-up to either the fire department chief or the CAO on the incidents.
Yeah, there's a follow-up. We built one individual already, and there's another one coming up. So anytime there's over 3, I believe it's 3. They're built.
3 and a 12-month period.
Correct.
Thought was appropriate with some of the interruptions in power failures, et cetera, which would trigger that alarm to go once the power comes back on. I'm glad to see that has been implemented. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Just a question on that. What is the charge for that if they've had 3 in 1 year?
You remember?
It's $200 for the 4th call out, and then it goes progressively higher from there.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. We're moving right along now to the strategic plan update. We have lots of good stuff going on here, lots completed, still a lot coming up. Any questions on that or comment? There's a living document, so it changes from year to year. Oh, sorry, never mind. Sorry, I'm reading way.
Well, that's fine. If I may, to our CAO, perhaps on a future meeting in 2024, we can dedicate some time just to update the strategic plan on some of the implementations that may or may not do in the budget process, for instance, just to update, as you say, a living document, and when and if we need to move some of those status updates and timelines to accommodate successfully completing the strategic plan before our turn. Would that be appropriate? Mr.
Yeah, that would be, if I may. If projects are completed, do you want those to shown on the list?
If I may, Madam Chair, I think the status on those, once they're completed, could be not removed but highlighted in the next incident, showing that they are completed or done in red or some other
Color.
column that says completed.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Anything else? Don't know what stuff going on here. So we'll be dealing with that in the new year and working on that. Okay, thank you very much. So the sustainable goals funding program. Councilor Finsky?
Yeah, this was something that I brought to staff's attention and they attended a Zoom meeting and found this wasn't applicable to our area. So thanks for staff for looking into that.
The next one is zoning and parking concerns re hotel operations in C3 zone. Is that your stuff?
That was me. I had some questions through to our CAO. I wonder if we could brief someone in with this. Any information. The questions that I posed were, all these properties as all these properties are zoned C3, they do allow hotels and motels. If they're operating as a motel using Airbnb platform, do they require or do they have a business license? And what are the parking requirements to gain a business license for that?
Anytime there's a new business, there's another hotel or motel that comes into town and they want to locate themselves in that area. They're not grandfathered unless the use has been there before and there's not a 6-month gap. And we've not in the past required parking spaces. So then we just have to, as a matter of fact, allow them to exist in the properties that were previously motel hotel. But in any case, every other business just has to parking that's available on the street. So this is how we operate. If another hotel wants to relocate on Main Street, they have to provide that. And they will not be able to locate themselves on Main Street without it.
Everyone, sorry.
Just following up on that, and that's for hotels, and long-term accommodations as well.
Yeah.
So when I'm looking at Airbnb, for instance, the platform that is not within the hotel format, for instance, I get confused as to the regulations that it's not permitted within our OCP, for instance. So how will we transform that either to a non-conforming use, for instance, in the C3?
Well, it's an illegal use because they're not permitted in any zone currently.
And therein lies part of the frustration on that platform. And I'm not suggesting that it's not a needed platform. There is a need for accommodations in all small communities. We can't rely on the Riverside Hotel with 11 rooms, for instance, if you have a large hockey tournament coming in here. And we know that on the platform, there are a number of Airbnbs throughout West Cowichan area that are utilized by those who are attending those recreation facilities. But within the municipal boundaries, I think that's where some of the frustration happens, if I just can say that.
And I mean, that's an issue that APC has been wrestling with also. They've not been able to come to a resolution on this matter. We've looked at other communities where Airbnbs are permitted in certain zones, and that is probably the way to go. But the issue is we always have people that just set up Airbnbs outside those areas. And then what do we do?
Follow up to that, if I may, Madam Chair, with the recent announcement from the provincial government on Airbnb regulations on a stipulation that you must reside within the household. I think that's an avenue that could accommodate some regulation within our municipality. When we look at, for instance, the site in question is not a residential mode, for instance, it is a rental property on the Airbnb platform. Some of the others within our region are residential facilities that could accommodate that owner residing within a portion of that, no different than a bed and breakfast, for instance, but on the Airbnb platform. So I think if the APC looks at the avenue within the legislation and how that could be accommodated within the municipal boundaries, that may give us something as a council to move forward on to utilize that moving forward.
Yeah, if I may, the difficulty is distinguishing an owner from a renter. So I mean, it would be very tough for us to enforce bylaws going to a community, to a place and saying, you've got an Airbnb, are you the owner? So that becomes a little bit difficult. I think as long as you've got somebody living in it, a resident, I think it's easier to deal with than just stipulating that they keep the owner.
I think if I may, Madam Chair, I would need further clarification on the legislation and what the intention of that was before we even move forward with anticipating anything. That's something we could possibly look into.
I think the agency will be doing that. We've talked about it several times.
Forward to that,
Which is something that is on that. So the question is, where does a commercial property on the main street that has decided to go in to rent it as a Airbnb fall?
Well, currently it's not permitted. So that's the issue we're trying to wrestle with.
Yeah.
Trying to come up with a designation and make sure that fits certain areas. So if it's allowed in commercial area, then that's how we'll go. It makes more sense to do it in a commercial area than in a residential area.
The only thing is it's, my understanding was that, when you're in a commercial area, it needs to be a commercial business in front. And we're using commercial business storefront to Airbnbs and vacation rentals.
Yeah, the problem is, if we, remember correctly, residents it's allowed. And so we have to maybe take it out of the facility.
But the residents needed to be in back or the whole, but frontage was supposed to be commercial.
That is, yeah, if it's a two-story building.
Yeah.
Then they've got it at the top, but we have residents on the C3 building. On that side and this side, we have residential property. On C3 zone.
Okay, Councillor Frisbee.
Yeah, just, I kind of see that as the Airbnb central of South Shore, so we've got 71, 73, 75, and 77. I understand that two are kind of C3 zoned and are quite residential looking. The other one that's just been renovated has deleted parking from its frontage. I guess what I'm trying to get to is the Kasapi Park going to be developed at some stage and take away more parking? Is staff concerned about the parking situation in that area?
We actually, I mean, with the superintendent and staff planner, we're going to be working out a solution for that. For town motel business. And I think we have a solution for the place that has an Airbnb supposedly. That's being worked on.
And I understand this Saturday Park, we're still gonna have some parking at the front.
Yeah, that's just parking for people using the park.
Yeah.
Because it was donated to the town.
Yeah,
for community.
it can't be a full parking. Thank you. We're going down now to collect business plan and future operations, Mr. Smith.
Is there anything else that you want to say before I go into my dialogue?
Just come on up so we can hear you on the video.
Just for clarity, it wasn't me that put this agenda item on the meeting, and then saying like the strategic plan, it was always in the strategic plan to come up with the long-term business plan for the clinic.
Okay,
So, yeah.
I think basically what council is looking for is more of a strategic plan than a business plan. Because, for example, the education center and Lakeview Park are two businesses that we run for the town through the education center that we charge money for. It's a service. We charge money for it. The visitor center, on the other hand, for example, is not that kind of a situation. It's a service only, tax funded, grant funded. So for the education center, what we've been doing is we charge for services, and the business plan that we've been adopted for many years is to try and get as many groups and organizations in that facility as we can. And we try and be in the black as much as possible, and depends how you read the books. I think we do read quite well and contribute a tremendous amount to the community. Bottom line is, yes, of course, I will provide you with a business plan / strategy. But we are working on some initiatives that were sort of put in the back burner because of COVID. And there's something that will come forward in the next few months that will play nicely into the question of the business plan and the strategic plan. And I think that's the direction that I'd like to present to council, something that works on the positive stuff and then provides for the future. Is that what you're wanting as a group?
I was just more looking for it now before we get to budget time next year. I think you picked up what I'm putting down as far as promotion and treating it more like a business. Like, I'd like to get it to a point where we don't have to call it rustic every time we talk about it. And I realize it's a not-for-profit, I realize it's a service. But we need to be reinvesting in it to keep it up. So that's why I'd like to see a long-term, to me, it's a business.
100% it will be addressed, and business plans / strategy are basically one and the same when you're dealing with a nonprofit. So it's not as if we're going to the bank to apply for more money and that kind of stuff, which you have to do with a business plan. If you're going to plan a voting business or a clothing business or something, you have to go to the bank. I'm going to present to you the facts and figures and what the future could hold with some initiatives. Is that fair enough?
So just one last thing, it's just, to me, it's the marketing, and I understand we're not producing a business plan for a bank or anything, but we are producing a business plan for the council.
Yeah.
And the way that I see it as a business owner, we have a $0 promotion, advertising fee, advertising budget, I should say. We're non-existent on social media, and a Google listing is just general education. Like, I'm frustrated that we're not getting the word out more. Like I had a meeting with some other business owners in town, and nobody really knows about this business that we have in town. So to me, I just don't see how we can continue operating this way if the word's not spread.
Yeah,
That's my frustration.
yeah, I'd be a little bit reluctant to say people don't know about it. That's, for example, you know, and I won't get into debate about it, but recently we had a group come in and had booked probably $56,000 worth of business for March and April, and they're in the Cowichan Valley. They know about it. We have the Stone Sculptors Association coming from around BC and Pacific Northwest for next year. And if you would look up for the fun of it, Stone Sculptors of British Columbia, just look it up and then it'll give a direct link to the education center, shows the whole website. So people know about it. Our problem is not so much getting customers, it's how to place those customers in a situation to fill the months that we can. And some months, you know, we're having a population of people coming for March and April, which doesn't always happen. Anyways, I will address it. The business plan strategy I will develop and provide you. That doesn't happen in 2 weeks. And we're doing budget right now.
Yes,
So just follow up to that. I don't think it should be a debate whether people know about it.
Yeah.
I wish that everybody knew about it, but I
Yeah.
can tell you people that who don't know about it. And I realize that you're gaining business from word of mouth from the experience.
It's from the website,
It's from the website.
a lot of it, yeah.
I find that hard to believe. Because
Well,
if I was to Google conference or anything like that in Lake Cowichan, it would not pop.
Well, I'm sorry, but your facts are wrong.
okay. Thank you. Are you booked right now, or are you just finished? up?
Well, now we're doing renovations and we've got booking starting in January. I'll address some of those things in the business.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Now, moving along to 63 Cowichan Lake Road, no update, is that correct?
No update, yeah, well, I did write a memo back in October. At the October meeting and basically a recommendation that we move forward with the, with putting out a contract to launch the building on site. The owner has come back and said, I'm going to put in small housing. We did provide a written proposal to council. And really, right now, the whole issue is still forward. The contract goes back if you want to get a direction.
I see a sign up front that said it's for lease or rent. For sale, lease or rent, with the lease inside. So it's just sitting there for now, and we'll just have to push that on to the next.
Sorry, I missed a lot of it with this span going. So you had a discussion with the new owner about his, or the owner about his proposal on the council. And it's basically said that council doesn't see that as being a good
A
fit.
viable thing.
Yeah, and so
And he's basically not responding.
hasn't responded, so. My opinion would be that we still have to have continuing pressure
Yeah.
on that property. We can't wait a few more months and do nothing and bring it up. It's got to be every 30 days or
Well, more than that.
something
Yeah.
that needs to be.
Yeah, just council needs to be aware that when we go after buildings like that, that's a good example, but it takes years, it doesn't happen overnight. We'd like to see things happen quickly. We've got examples of it, we had Beaver Road, that took a while to get a house, that took about 10 years, but we got knowledge. But there's still some dilapidated house there that needs to be fixed. And, yeah, we're at it. There's only so much we can do, because it's not an instance of one house being in bad shape, we've got a number of.
So what is the next step?
What is your recommendation on the property?
Well, the recommendation is to put out a contract, demolition, that might end up getting some results, just going through the motions of it would be helpful. We've done that in others.
Madam Chair, I'll make a notice of motion at this point that topic of an RFP for demolition of 63. Get it right, Couch Lake Road. The topic in council. Coming next Tuesday.
The regular meeting?
Yes, now whether or not that needs to reside
But that is
on legal implications, I will wait to see if that should appropriately reside.
Well, that's what I was thinking, like, we can't go and demolish someone else's building.
But you can put up a tender and that will elicit a response.
Okay,
So just if we have that discussion in council and we move forward with what the recommendation of this table is.
so that notice of motion will go on at the end of the circle. No, it's just a notice of motion, it's not a motion. It's a notice. Okay, did you want the broad demolition under this? You said staff report for this one.
Well, that's up to you, guys.
Do you want it on number
Sure,
10?
sure.
Okay, so we'll do the new edition that came in today. I have to go, we all have to go find it. It's only a short one. I would have printed it out, but I didn't see it before I left. Did you want to read that? Or do we just want to look through it and have some?
You want me to read the memo?
Well, do we want to just read through that? Everybody?
Well, basically, the recommendation is to go with the additional expense of dealing with the removal of the hazardous material. One is the lead and the other is the asbestos. They're above the BC hazardous waste regulation limit.
Mhm.
And quite a bit high because the allowable limit for lead is 5.0 milligrams per liter, but this one here had 51.7.
It's from the eighties, yeah. We make a motion to move the recommendation. We want to do that? Well, somebody has to get it on for discussion.
So I'll move the staff recommendation. Someone will second that. So I have the question then, so the original contract price, the broad was 37,
37 baht.
so 37, and now we're asking another 13. And my first thought when I saw this is, how is this fair to the other person who put in a quote? Because we declined that based on the amount.
Yeah, well, he would have probably come in and had the same issue. The
And
amount might have been different. This is based on the reports that we provided at the start.
but the follow-up, I thought that, the people that came in to do the bid were already fully aware of. They did a site. And they already knew there was hazardous chemicals and asbestos, et cetera, and they still put in their bid knowing that. So now what you're saying is they're coming back.
No, what happened is we had reports on the hazardous material that was provided to us in 2016. And we provided those reports to both of the contractors. And basically what happened is they have to do testing. So, and the testing that came back was not anywhere what was originally shown as the hazardous. Way more than what the initial reports came back.
And I didn't get a seconder for that, by the way, so.
I did.
Did I? Okay, Mary Donald. Yeah, and this happens a lot with things like this with the lead paint. I mean, I worked on the building in '89 and I know the different kinds of paint. I'm quite surprised that they didn't realize it was that heavy with lead. But again, it happens all the time and, it's not a lot of money. And didn't you say there's a percentage? No, he said there's always a percentage of an overage of 5% or 10%.
No,
This is.
well, it depends. This is different.
So what's your pleasure, folks?
Just got one question. So when we put this out to bid, we used a report from 7 years ago.
Yeah.
And then we asked questions saying, is there any overages? They said that the correspondence got back was that everything that they could see was they're aware of. Now we'll come back with just the ceiling tile that anybody can look at. That they would have known that ceiling tile had asbestos in it. Of course, that paint would have had lead in it. Like, this is what I was trying to avoid with my thing, trying to get it stopped so we get a look at the contract. And now we're coming back to it. I don't know what that is. Is that a 20% increase? And this is just what they can see from the outside of it. So why are we using such old information? Why wouldn't we just splash out on a hazard materials report before we put the bid out? Like, it's costing us a lot of money, man.
Well, to do a report costs money too.
Is it $13,000?
Yeah, well, I mean, we would spend it there, but, and they would still come back and verify if those numbers are correct. They have to, they're required by work safety to do that. So they're not doing something on their own. They went with the report that we provided them with. And obviously they thought if that's all that is, it should be good to go. And then when they came here and started testing it was sent to a lab for testing. They didn't do the testing themselves. Comes back, and that's why they stopped working. They stopped working immediately. Well, it's up to you. If you don't want to see it demolished, what can you do?
I understand how they have to test, but what I don't understand is why we don't have, like, we would have got a lot more accurate price if we had the right hazard report beforehand. Like, to me, this is what I was groveling about, is like these things can go sideways, and sure enough, we're seeing it just on the exterior of what they can see. So also part of it, like, we're seeing a square footage here. Is there a price per square footage, or are they just throwing, like, is there, they have price things, and are there just, there's going to be more to come, I can tell you that. Is there prices there, and are we willing to just bail on this, get our own report, and get, you know, should we at this time bail on this and get a hazard report and get quotes for that? Because this is gonna, if this is just the siding and the ceiling tile, this is gonna go over budget.
Forgive if I may, and I think the frustrating part was in the original assessment, it did identify lead paint, it did identify
Asbestos.
ceiling, asbestos tile, it identifies ceiling or floor, vinyl asbestos tile. But it did not accommodate the extent of that within a lab test. It was a site assessment, and unfortunately, that was what was utilized for the bid process. I certainly want to see the building removed as per our original plan. I know it's frustrating on not just our end. I don't want to say I told you so, but it is a recurring theme that these issues of overages are within scope of the project. Unforeseen things do transpire. I can understand the lead paint. As a child, I used to chew on my crib that probably had lead paint in it. I'm not sure if it could be, but no, it is a very toxic substance.
Yeah.
The motion is to recommend the staff report, and I would be a little hesitant to pause, as there could be some repercussions on the contract that we're entering into. I'm not suggesting that that isn't an option, but I certainly want to see that everything come down as soon as possible.
Yeah,
Yeah, if I may, if you looked at this building, and if you look at the cost of the over $4 million that we spent here, we had Lakeside do the testing. And if you looked at the amount that we paid, it's $48,000 just for testing and making sure that everything was kosher. And yet, this building was a lot safer than that one over there, but we still had to spend money. So you can figure out that, we spent $48,000 here just to do the testing and remedial work.
And the testing in 2016, that cost money as well.
Yeah.
Wasn't that,
Yeah,
about that?
at that time, it was not as much.
Yes, Counselor Christie?
When we spent the 48,000 on this building, did they discover more stuff afterwards that had to be remediated? Or was that-
That's something I can't really say because the contractor was paid or whatever. That they have to do.
Back into all these different stuff. Well, what's your pleasure, folks?
Sorry, can I ask one? Is there any other option to this? So if we were to say that we're no longer continuing this, could we put it out to tender again for people to go on at this stage, or is it too late? We're in their contract.
Well, you could certainly do that, but what they did so far, we would have to pay for, it, and we would have to pay for it coming here and going back. So that's the cost that we'll have to absorb.
I'd just like to see it done, and it's not a huge amount of money. We knew there's always overages. I've never heard of any project yet going on, that didn't have one. Did you have something there? Ron?
Well, I'm just wondering if within that recommendation, it states, something to the effect that, with no more additions.
Yeah,
I mean,
definitely.
with this current contract.
That makes,
So if something else, if I may continue, I'll add that as a motion, to the code of 13.6 are provided by road demolition be approved with no further additions on the current contract.
Right.
Are you okay with that?
Because you made a-
And the reason I'm going that way, that would afford us, should something else transpire, that we have stated within this resolution of approving the unforeseen 51 milligrams per liter of lead, that nobody could proceed that original test. Anything further would negate the contract.
Okay.
Just one avenue to look at if something does transpire, and then I tend to agree with Councilor Frisbee that something else may come up. When we did the library, for instance, nobody foresaw a oil tank buried in the ground. If we're unforeseen circumstance that may occur, that will be an additional appointment cost on top of that. So if that is in there, at least there's an avenue for us to look at an option should that arise.
Councilor Christie?
Is it something we can put in a contract that stipulates, doesn't matter what you find, there's no more overages? Like, I feel like our original contract, if we're able to do that, we should put it in the original contract. Is that a realistic thing to?
yeah, I think when it's dealing with work safety, it might not be.
It is to do with work, right?
And don't get me wrong, we want to ensure that whoever is doing that is working in a safe, clean environment that will not impact their health and safety. No way that we could, or I could perceive that there would be an impact on the lead paint outside, which is exposed to people walking by, for instance. So we want to ensure that not only our staff, but those that we contract out are working in a safe environment and can go home at the end of the day.
And well, they're all covered, they were the safety equipment they're covered, so I think we should take a vote, if we could, please. All those in favor?
I'll read that just to.
The motion was to accept the staff report of 13,600 with no more additions. Do you have other wording in there as well?
That was the intent of the quote of $13,600 as provided by Broad. Demolition be approved
Right,
with no further increases in the current contract.
in the current contract. Okay,
I can put current demolition contract if you wish. That'll be
Yeah.
one of her.
that
That
might
would be better.
demolition.
Didn't think I needed to repeat because it's broad demolition and it's got that with reference.
The
So
more words, the better.
that's, that
Okay,
was content.
all right, we've got the motion, all those in favor? Well, it's gotta be done, some. Opposed? Councilor Christie opposed? You make note of that, please. Excuse me. Losing my voice here. Okay, now I'm lost. Where's it going? Parks and Recreation, anything out of Parks and Recreation? Well, I will say that all the lighting is beautiful around town. People have been saying how wonderful it is. You guys did a great job and I don't know how you unravel all those lights, of course, for a nightmare, one that. And thank you for that. Public Works and Environmental Services, the traffic study options.
This is something that I put on the agenda. I know that we budgeted for it. Is this something, I know that we left it too late last summer. Are we exploring options as to who could actually provide this service? Or are we scrapping it?
It was too late in the year for us to move forward, but at the same time, I think it was not, as far as staff is concerned, not something that we want to make a priority. We can priority, but it's really up to you.
Was that in the strategic plan? Yeah, I remember. What was that?
Don't think that,
I mean, Madam Chair, it will not transpire this year. It's a little late for that, considering the traffic congestion of the summer was what the focus was intended to be. If this is something that this table wants, we can discuss it again during the budget cycle and implement it as soon as possible. Should that be the desired intent.
Okay. Councilor Von Acken.
Just to back up to Public Works and Environmental was where we could do the cycle.
That's under.
That'll be number 4. Okay, so that will be under budget, the budget, yeah, that would make sense to do then. The Spirit Loop,
That was me also. So it's an initiative that the Malay First Nations have spearheaded, where they highlight the communities around the what was formerly known as the Pacific Marine Route. I know that Malahat, Langford, Sook, and Port Renfrew have opted in. I know that the Malahat did approach, I don't know if it got to the council stage, but they approached us to be a part of it for $1,000, and it didn't go through. To me, businesses are giving us feedback that that's where the majority of their customers are coming from, and they could have doing their Spirit Loop. So I don't know what this table feels about becoming part of that Spirit Loop, and looking to get involved in that, because it is, once the initial cost is set up, it is a free promotional service.
did they contact the Suboxet First Nations? Because I would have thought all the First Nations would have been in on them.
I'm unaware of that. I just know that Mr. Hennessy approached the town of Lake Cowichan before my time.
You don't recall that.
I don't believe that's the council table.
I know, I've seen a few others that have happened in the valley, and they always left Lake Cowichan out, so it's. When I went through it and looked at it, I was like, what happened to Lake Cowichan? You got Port Renfrew and then you got Malahat. Hello, that's not right, and it's always been like that. So maybe that's something we have to think about during budget talks then. Councilor Frisbee?
Yeah, it's that was because we didn't opt in, neither did Duncan, so they skipped over from Port Renfrew. So they're just highlighting the communities and businesses that do. I don't know if everyone's on board with staff reaching out to the Spirit Loop group to see what it would cost to get involved now with that information, or
Add us in.
well, just what it would cost to become part of that Spirit Loop is again. So
Shouldn't be more than a second.
motion. So I'd like to motion that staff contact the organizer of the Spirit Loop to see if we can get involved in that promotion again.
I'll second that. Yes, Mayor.
And with that, that will come back after staff reaches out on the costing and whether or not council is comfortable, as you say, don't did not. And participate because of whatever reason they decided. So with the information that comes from that, reaching out to make that decision. As long as we have opportunities to showcase the area, that we should take financially approach that is frugal, yet is fruitful. Fruitfully frugal.
Councilor Von Acken.
So could we request to see if they would come as a delegation to council? Be it that Mr. Frisbee is new and so
Yeah, I'm not sure if there's actually a delegation behind it. I know that it was spearheaded by the Malahat First Nation, so. Yeah, I'm not sure if there is a delegation. I think it was. Spurred from a grant that they received. And it's more just being put in motion now, so I'm not sure if they would come out and do it, but I think reaching out to see what the deal is a great first step.
If I may, Madam Chair, I think the whole intent of the spirit move was when the Malahat First Nation were spearheading the Skywalk. That's trying to incorporate some opportunities for surrounding neighborhoods and towns and villages to embrace that for one thing, and to recuperate some of the traffic that was going from there that would be traveling through their areas as well. Perhaps another avenue would be to reach out to economic development intelligence, whether or not they have information and how that application for inclusion may be an option, aside from reaching out to spirit group as well.
Is that something you could bring up at the CBR board or?
I could most certainly ask Mr. O'Leary to hold some information.
I'm surprised that Duncan wouldn't have gone in when they have the totem walk through town. I'm surprised, but anyway. Is that okay with everybody? I have a motion. Did I have a second there? Hopefully. Yes, it was me. All those in favor? I don't usually second if I'm there. Yeah. Okay, sounds good. Maybe we'll get the couching on the map one of these days. Sandy don't pay to use installation. Is that still in the works?
Yes. I'll let,
Sandy Dunn is ordered now. It should be probably a week or two will be here and scheduled to be installed sometime in mid-January.
Oh, good. Perfect. Any, not Mayor McDonald?
So if I may through you to either our CAO or our superintendent, the payment system will be on a Wi-Fi or a telephone line.
Cell signal.
Excuse me?
Cell signal.
It's 3G.
Cell?
3G.
Thank you.
Any more questions?
Follow up if I may.
Yes.
That will be open all year round as a pay system as opposed to seasonal shutdowns that have occurred in the past. Whatever you guys think, right? The contract, if I may, for the license for the user is a year-long contract, is it not?
yes,
So it would only make sense to the recovery of those for a year long instead of shutting it down. We do have a lot of winter campers currently that are waiting for the school kids to go back before those my age. Well,
Seniors.
yeah, seniors. I guess I am a senior now. They tend to wait the slow season, but we can't. Look forward to that.
There's only one thing would be the water. I mean, with the freezing temperatures, you still would have to shut the water down, would you not? At some point? No, you're
So
okay.
the system we have self-rated. Oh, it doesn't stay in the pipes.
Oh, good. Okay, didn't want that to start happening. Okay,
Thank
super.
you.
Shall we wait for Councilor Frisbee to return?
Please.
And the pay system will be by card only, we will not take any cash.
Or whatever is programmed into the base.
It's like I was quite pleased that the Salvation Army, when they're doing their pedals now, they bought that little system, so a lot of people don't have money to do that. So that was the one.
So to Mr. Smith and to our superintendent, there was discussion before about Sandy down at the Lakeview Park.
That would be about.
Well, either or, like if.
At this point, at this point, we're not going to be installed.
But if this one is successful. We may look at it there.
If I can just make a comment on that actually. When that road was paved, that probably limited, you know, the ability to do that, would make a mess.
Okay.
And superintendent and I talked about it at the time, and it's pretty smooth the way it is now, and we need the parking. I love the idea years ago when there was no
Yeah.
standing up automatic and we could control it, but it'll be good this way.
Okay. Thank you.
They really need one out at Gordon Bay, don't they? That's where they need one. A lot of them do. Okay, so number 4, we're gonna talk about the recycling refuge, Mayor, you need one?
Yeah, thank you very much. As we have taken recycling in-house. Included with our garbage and refuse collection, I think it's important to get the information out to our residents as soon as possible as to what the cycle for pickup would be for the upcoming year. You may have noticed on social media the uproar when the truck broke down and recycling was not picked up. So I think it's important that we get a schedule to the residents on how that will be incorporated into the 2024 pickup year as soon as possible. We are the ones that pay the price politically. Staff does not get the wrath, except for some phone calls of those who feel that the recycling should have been picked up regardless of equipment breakdown. It's unfortunate when we look at, there is no limit to what you can recycle for pickups. Another week, for instance, of storing that was not problematic for me. It may have been for others, and we apologize for the equipment breakdown, but we accommodated as best we could with what we had. If we're going to incorporate recycling into one of our scheduled pickups, I think that needs to be put out there as soon as possible. How we do that is part of the problem, whether it is in the recycling calendar as soon as possible. Otherwise, we're going to have people putting their recycling out on Mondays instead of incorporating it into their garbage or compost pickup, which I think is the intent moving forward. If I'm totally up to lunch on this, please correct me.
Mr. Fernandez.
Yeah, it's just being processed currently. Just what you've been talking about will be coming out fairly short. We've got the calendar, we've got the details on that calendar on the reverse side, telling people when the pickups are. For recycling, it's going to be in unison with organic during the organic pickup weeks. The rest of the year, now it'll be Thursday, Wednesdays and Thursdays, right?
Wednesday and Thursday.
So,
For
You
certain
saw?
time of the year, for certain time of the year.
yes,
And then the rest of the year, starting April through October, it'll be every second week, so we'll be doing garbage and organics 1 week. And organics and recycle the second. And that was
a follow-up if I may. So currently the calendar is just one-sided and it shows the color coding for what day is what day. Are you anticipating on the flip side with that descriptive?
Yeah, there will be more descriptive and fixed.
Will be explaining on the backside of what the anticipated pickup schedule is
Yeah.
with compost specifics.
I think that's the plan.
Thank you, and that will go out.
Hopefully this week, right?
I think we've just about got it complete. It might be a little bit of fine tuning tomorrow if it's ready. And we can post it on the website and that, and then it's mailing it out. And right now on the calendar, we have a whole bunch of other information. I think we can maybe just post that on the website. If they need that, they go on the website.
Yeah. Does
We don't
that-
need the recycling contractor's phone number on there anymore.
No.
We'll just put public works on there and
Bone jazz.
Anybody else want to take it?
There's good.
Just to follow up on the recycling, how is it going? And is this to staff, is this our plan is to take this on going forward and we're not going to contract it out?
No, it's, we just couldn't afford to pay what they were. And what we're gonna do is, at some point in the beginning of the next year, we'll be automating pickups of recycling also. So we're looking at that, it'll be a lot faster.
How goes the battle of recycling? How's it been going?
Actually, pretty good. Yeah, the guys have actually worked hard and, it's taken us a little bit of learning curve, but it's been all good, other than our truck breaking down like one day. So we've also purchased another truck, so we will have a backup truck if we get into a situation like that.
So, sorry, what day did you say the recycling was gonna be?
Wednesday.
Wednesday, and that was my concern, is they used to do it on Mondays, and it fell on holidays.
Yeah.
Which we won't have, at Public Works. And is there, gonna be a cost analysis provided to council? What it's costing us to do it in-house versus what it was?
I don't think you can prove that what it was because it was cheap before. And we would have paid the new rate to anybody who would do it quite a bit more. In fact, we would have had to be automated and we would have to go out and do different things to help people with recycling. They wouldn't be very happy. But with the town doing it, it's a lot easier because we're going to face them through that process. We're going to do unlimited picking at the beginning and then we'll limit at some point.
So it will cost us more to do it in-house.
Well, it'll cost us more because our labor costs are higher.
Later, contractor was,
It'll be less than the price we got, one price we got.
yeah.
Just behind the curtain a bit, like have we had to hire to accommodate this, or are you just taking on more work? Have you had to hire more staff to accommodate this recycling service, or is it just the truck that's the,
The
like,
truck,
how have we staffed this, like,
we haven't hired, but we did have to go out and look at that.
but at the moment you've been able to do it with your crew?
Yeah, well, actually, we brought one person in to help us, because right now it's manual, so we have to have two people per truck. One walking alongside of it, dumping the bags, and one driving. But when we go to the automated system, that's come up. Stalls in this, they do like that.
And if I mean, the automated system, is that within the truck, or like, is that something going to purchase, like, well, how does that work?
So, you know how we do our garbage cans now, the hydraulic arm?
Yeah.
So that's how we will be picking it up. So we need to, we've looked into it, and we'll be working on that. The next little bit, we'll be buying garbage totes, the recycled bins. So everybody in town will have one of those, and that's, you pick it up just like your garbage.
And you wouldn't have to sort it or anything like that, it's just all goes into one.
As long as the people are doing it properly, we'll be fine. Our recycle program is actually pretty good. People are pretty good.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I think your question on the cost analysis is a complex one, or whoever that was. Because not only was the contract to our person that was picking up was paid, but there's also funds that are recuperated in the recycling program that we get from Recycle BC or whatever you call this year, that could be incorporated into this program if we need to get that return on investment. That'll certainly be a discussion during the budget process, I'm sure, on how we can accommodate bringing that in-house and give the service that people have expected or expect from, the delivery of that.
Yes, that's one question. If we're gonna go to the bin model, I guess it would be the same as garbage. So if one is not sufficient for a household that does a lot of recycling, then they have to have a second bin. Would that be further charged like an extra garbage can would be?
We'll have to look into that, but the bins we get for recycle will be much larger, they'll be 240 liters, rather than the 80 we're using the garbage.
Yeah.
So you're gonna have a big size of the bin.
Okay. Good, thank you. Thank you.
But continuing that, if I may, I think it's very important for a public education process that is done properly now that we take it in-house. There are fines for contamination within the recycle stream through the rebates would be reduced. If it gets no plastics, for instance, which are not allowed at curbside, glass is not allowed at curbside. Those have to be sorted and taken to recycle facilities within the Cowichan Valley. One being Main Creek, Main Street, and utilize that to not contaminate the recycle stream we have taken on. It's no different than the contamination of our Landfill garbage, for instance, for compost, trying to eliminate that from that flow. So it's public education and trying to accommodate the non-contamination of those waste flows. When we consider that we export our garbage landfill to the regional district to the Bank of Washington, anything that we can remove from that volume saves the whole process in the long run.
Thank you. Well, that's a good discussion. Okay. I think we've come to new business now, unless I missed something. Tour of municipal facilities by council, dates and times, if we figure something out in the spring or
So
January,
we're talking January,
January.
and you'll have to determine what date to go to you. I don't think you want to do all of the facilities on one day. You want to split it for a period of time.
Maybe we didn't want to take a meeting, so we're already going to be having a meeting that day. Did that work? So do we want to pick which facilities to visit first, or you just want to keep thinking about it?
No, we're okay. You decide schedule and we'll work with it. I've got a comment on the water treatment plant. The first week of January, if you guys could.
Yeah.
All make that fit sometime from the 1st to the 5th. Because Mike is here that day,
Oh, good.
that week. So I'd like him to be present but I'd like Ben to put the presentation on.
Great.
So
We do January 4th,
What day is that?
as a Thursday.
It's Saturday.
Thursday, January 4th.
Thursday, January 4th for Public Works tour, not only the waterworks.
Sewer as well.
We'd like to look at the waste treatment facility as well and whatever else.
If you guys can all fit it in that day,
Public Works,
make it work.
uh,
Pump station.
everything.
So what time would we want to start? 9, 10 in the morning? Something like.
We start, we'll accommodate, some travel time at second.
Oh, yeah,
10?
4:30, 6 a.m.
No, it's too early.
Let's do it at 10 a.m. We'll meet here at 10 a.m. January,
Meet January 4th, yeah.
and then once that's done, we could look at, Lakeview Park.
And then we'll figure that out.
And we'll do, this tour facility at the open house.
That's in the morning.
Does that work for everyone?
Yeah.
If we put that in here.
I'm sure we then have to boundaries.
January 4th. January 4th, 10 a.m. from here. We'll need to pick it up.
Well, Cargill.
You can use the new garbage. truck.
Yeah.
Pick us up with the arm.
No.
Okay, there's one done. Thank you.
So we just leave it at that for now.
Now, let's see how the renovations are going and plan before we make the visit out there.
Yeah, it's at the regular meeting. Okay. Okay, the next one is the MNP Re-Audit Services Plan 2023. Mrs. Gill.
Yeah, thank you. So this is the 2023 audit service plan. It's a report for mayor and council. It outlines the new reporting requirements that are present, will be some of them coming into effect this year for the 2023 statements and some for 2024 and 25. It covers the risk assessments with our internal controls, our property tax revenue, government transfers, and asset retirement obligations, which is the big one that's going to be affecting the financial statements this year. They've covered their key deliverables, the dates, the audit materiality. That's one of the key numbers that they use to determine if the financial statements accurately reflect and something that will affect decision making if the materiality they said is 350,000. So that's what they're going forward with this year. It outlines the audit team and also their fees, which is $23,000 for this year.
Is that up from last year?
It goes up a little bit every year. It is on a 5-year contract, and this is the 5th year of the contract, so it'll go out to tender next year. And yeah, the last few pages, the appendixes just cover the issues and developments involved in all the new reporting requirements. So if anybody has questions on that, I'd be happy to meet with them either now or after the meeting or later.
Just a quick question, coming through you. Did you say that asset retirement is implemented in this audit statement or 2020?
2023, it's gonna be done. I've been working on it, and the auditors at interim have reviewed it, so there's gonna be some changes. But I was able to do that in-house without having to tender that out. That's one of the items that was in the capital budget, but it looks like we'll be able to do it in-house without the need to have specialists.
A follow-up if I may, and in the absence of a complete asset management plan within the town of Lake Cowichan, how can that be accommodated moving forward, implementing both the asset management plan and the asset retirement requirements?
The asset management plan is something that's a living, continuing. Asset retirement obligations is different. All of the only assets that you consider an asset retirement obligations are those that are deemed to have asbestos or hazardous in some way. So anything that we own that's a post-1992 building isn't included. Anything that's been substantially renovated like this building is not included. So once you start to scope what is in and what is out, we were able to scope out a lot of the assets. And the ones that are scoped in, which are all our older buildings, like the ones at Flex Center, the Public Works Yard, and that. So then that was concentrating on those buildings and then looking at what it's costing. Obviously, it's an estimate of when are we gonna incur those costs? How far into the future? Are those assets fully amortized? Is it an accretion and depreciation sort of thing? But anyways, it might work out that I'm hoping that it will work out that it's immaterial. If it's below the $350,000, we may not have to record that in the financial statements, but that's the best case scenario.
Maybe one part of the way I was going was within an asset management plan, for instance, the newly renovated town hall has a lifespan of X number of years. And replacement costs at the end of that projected lifetime of X number of dollars. So in your budget process, moving forward, if you're going to be looking for grants from senior levels of government, you have to have a contingency within your budget of putting reserves away for the replacement of that facility. Water treatment plant would accommodate into that asset management plan of needs for contingencies within that as well. So I think moving forward in the next few years, as not only the asset retirement portion comes, but the asset management replacement of these. For instance, the $10.1 million towards the sewer treatment upgrade, the lifespan of that is X. The replacement of at the end of that time is Y. So Z should be what you're putting in yearly to accommodate the town's portion within that. That's where the fiscal impact is going to really reside in the next few years, in my opinion.
That's correct. And asset retirement obligations adds to what you need, because not only do you have to fund the replacement, but if they have asbestos or other lead, paint, all those kinds of materials, you have to budget a liability on your financial statements to that it will increase with construction rates or whatever rate that we decide to use to account for that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? Then lots of work in there on that one. Number C, But it's the emergency management planning session for council to be held in January, so we have January 4th booked right now, what to,
They're looking at the middle of Jan,
and April driver needs to be available,
will be April and Ryan.
Ryan. Okay, so will you contact them to see what
Yeah,
they would like to
the
do?
only issue is this may be done during the day.
Yeah. During the day, during the day. Yeah, they don't want to longer. Okay. Thank you. Any questions on that? We'll just wait and see when they're available. D, Local Government Leadership Academy Conference. This is over in Richmond, January 31st to February 2nd. They haven't opened up the registration yet. I looked at it. I won't be going this time, but if anybody wants to go.
I'll make a motion that up to 2 members of council attend the local government leadership academy conference in Richmond between January 31st and February 2nd, if there's some.
Seconder, Councilor Von. All those in favor? It's you get a lot out of it. It's different every time. It's a little bit different every time. So I think we've got E now, leave of absence, for Councilor Sandy. Do we have a motion for that?
So move.
And, seconder, Councilor Frisbee, any questions, all in favor? And F, we had is that your budget process?
Yeah, the budget process, I was thinking for this budget cycle, if possible, that each department would, and I know they're already within budget discussions. But I think within the senior management team, they are doing the majority of discussions at present. What I would like to see from each of the department heads is a tiered system of what would be required. A, to keep the core operations running at the current level. B would be for supplemental requests, for instance, in a tiered system, where tier 1 is the most important. Tier 2 is something that would enhance the operations of whichever department it is. And tier 3 would be something that would be nice to have. And when those are brought forward as a group of senior management team and embedded within that, that's not where it should be, in my opinion. That then should be brought back to mayor and council for at least inclusion of that discussion from each manager within the department on what the tiered system requests in tier 1, 2, and 3 would mean. A, to the operation, and B, to the budget process of the town of Lake Couch. And we've just discussed about taking on additional services in-house, whether it be recycling, whether it be garbage, whether it be new subdivisions that require maintenance for sidewalks, sewers, roads, etc. How will that impact the system, the budget on what your request could be in public works, for instance? When we look at the renovated facility here, what would be required to accommodate those successfully as well? So I'm just looking at that. After it is vetted within the senior management team, they have made their decision on what they're comfortable with. That at the end of the day, this body should be afforded that information that was not endorsed as to what we are comfortable endorsing as the elected body moving forward. And it's not a matter of taking on anyone's job position, etc. But when we look at how the community is growing and how we can accommodate that within our current structure, I think we have struggles. I'll be very honest that our capacity issues may be a problem. But what would be the financial implications of those decisions should be also at this table as well. So that's what I would like to see. Just a tiered system on what the request is, and a tier 1, 2, and 3, and what those budget implications. If you are so inclined, I think that is an avenue that we could approach this year's budget segment. But totally up to this table as well.
Sounds good. Any further? Yes,
So correct, I'm assuming you want to see 3 tiers, right?
So, and what has happened in the past is the senior management team has discussed the budget process and brought that forward to council. Some of the requests for supplemental have been vetted through that senior management team and not brought for discussion in this. That's all I'm like wanting to see is what is not incorporated in the budget you want to present to us in a tiered system. So the requests that were not endorsed within the senior management team, if it's a new vehicle, if it's a new employee, if it's a new facility, that those be in a tiered system. 1 is the most important, 2 would be nice to have, and 3 is it can wait. Just so we can have that discussion at the table. And the reason I'm looking at that sort of avenue is the budget cycle within, and I'm not saying who's right or who's wrong. Within the regional district is a similar thing where a mandate is given by the board as to what the implications of the budget increases will be. So the core budget is set at, and I will use their example, 3.5% to provide the services that are currently the core at a 3.5% increase. Anything above that and supplemental requests are tiered in their priorities of 1, 2, or 3. And then those are presented as supplemental budget requests that would increase that percentage increase. So it's just something that we can consider what we're comfortable with. And what the endorsement of that service would look like financially. And again, not suggesting one's right or one's wrong, but I'd like to try that.
That's not all you're talking, right? You were just giving us information, is that correct?
If you want a motion to that effect, I think staff knows basically where we're going, and if they have any questions, they can bring that back to council. If that's
So
all
they're-
word,
Just-
yes, just how we should move forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think that was in a new business. I know I made a mess of my sheet here, but, right?
Yes.
That was it. Notice of motion, and a notice of motion with an RFP for demolition of 63 Crouching Road. To come to
Be
the
brought
next.
to the regular council meeting next Tuesday.
Yes, we get 2 in a row this month. Yippee. Okay, is that it now? Okay, question? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I think that's.
Is that it? Question period, limited to items on the agenda and any additions that we made today. For offsite, the email is general@lakecowichan.ca. You can still phone 749-6681, can you not? No, just the email. We're not doing the phone in.
We'll do phone in next time, because
Oh.
we got a new number.
Okay, good to know. Okay, super, thank you. So just general@lakecowichan.ca, and if we don't get to see it tonight, yet our staff, I'm sure will answer your questions in due time. For in-person, 3 minutes. Is there no questions? Holy crow, I can't believe it. Oh, sorry. No. Okay, well, thank you. So right now we have to move into in-camera, so we need a motion to, for Mr. Fernandez to move us to in-camera. Explain what in-camera is.
Section 92 of the community charter requires that before a meeting or part of a meeting is closed to the public, council must take a resolution why the meeting be closed. And the basis on which the meeting is to be closed falls under the following sections of the community charter. 91C, labor relations, other employee relations, and law enforcement.
So,
Seconder, Councilor Frisbee, on favor? In-camera. The other people have to leave, so
let's take 5 minutes.
5 minutes. Oh, thank you.
That's okay.